So what exactly are you going to learn in this course? In this course, you are going to learn how to create a complete Django football results web application. An application that's going to display the results of football matches that have been played. So in this course, you are going to learn a lot. And there are so many reasons why you need to learn Django. First of all, Django is in demand. And by learning Django, you will have lots of opportunities. The second reason is because you will be able to create and build awesome web applications and websites and web-based projects by using Django. Django is super powerful and you can build awesome projects with it. And in this course, I'm going to teach you a lot. I'm not just going to teach you Django. I'm going to also focus on the user interface. I'm going to also teach you how to build components that's going to display the results, that's going to display the football results like this, and also how to make requests in Django in Python, and how to get results from an API service, how to use an API service, how to display data to users, how to use JSON, how to use HTML and CSS in Django. So many things will be taught in this course to make sure that you will be able to build a complete football results web application like this. So by the end of this course, first of all, you will have created a complete football results application, web application, and also you will have a lot of fun in this course, and you will have learned so many things by the end of this course. So what IDE should you use? Well, in this course, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code, and I'd highly recommend using Visual Studio Code because it's easy to use and it's perfect for Python. But if you have any IDE that you used to use, then use it and don't use Visual Studio Code. The most important thing is that you use an IDE or text editor that you feel comfortable coding with. But if your decision is to use Visual Studio Code, then you need to head on over to code.visualstudio.com and then you will be able to download Visual Studio Code. If you are using Mac, you need here to select to click here on download Mac, the stable version, and then you can install it on your Mac exactly as if you are installing any program on your Mac. If you are a Windows user, just select Windows and download the Windows version. And by the way, it's gonna here say download for Mac it's gonna say here download for Windows if you are using Windows. So this is my recommendation. And again, if you have another IDE that you wish to use, go ahead and use it.
In order to download and install Python, you need to head on over to python.org and then hover over downloads and then click on your operating system. If you are using Windows, you need to download the one here for Windows, or if you are using Mac, you need to download the one for Mac. But for Mac users, before you download Python, you need to check if Python is already installed on your Mac or not. To do that, you can head on over to your terminal, open your terminal, and then in the terminal, just type Python 3 and then -- version, and then hit enter, and it's going to tell you if Python is installed or not. If Python is installed, it's going to print out the version. So as you can see here, the version is 3.7.1, and I'm going to be using Python 3. If you type Python, only Python without 3 and then hyphen version, it's going to print out the version of Python 2, which version of Python 2 that is installed on my Mac. But I'm going to be using Python 3, therefore you need to type Python 3 -- version and check if it's installed. If it's installed, then you don't need to do anything else. But if Python is not installed on your Mac, you need to head on over to python.org and then click on here on Mac OS X to check out all of the versions that are available. And you can download the latest version, which is 3.8.5 or 3.7 or even 3.6. It doesn't matter as long as it's 3.6 and above. And as you have seen, I'm using 3.7. The process of installing and downloading Python is the same for all of these versions. So you can select whichever you want. I already have downloaded 3.1, 3.7.1. and installed it. So I'm gonna click on it just to show you that how you can install it on Mac. So all you need to do is that you need to select the file. You have here the installer. As you can see, the installer. You can download the installer. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to take some time to download this package. And once it's installed, all you need to do is that you need to open it, and then you need to just click on a few nexts and accept the license. Just click on continue, and then README. Just make sure that you agree on the license here. Click on continue and then agree, and then just click on install, and it's gonna start installing. Click here on install, and once it's done, all you need to do is that you need to click on close, and you are good to go. And to make sure that Python has been installed, first of all, you can click on here go, and then applications, and then you'll find Python among your applications. As you can see here, it says Python 3.7, and you can check the if Python is installed or not by also heading on over to the terminal, and you need to close the terminal and then open a new terminal. You need to open a new terminal to check if it's installed or not. And then in a new terminal, you need to type again Python 3 and then -- version, and then hit enter. And as you can see, it's going to tell you that it's going to print out Python 3.7.1, and also make sure that pip is installed. Type pip and then -- version and hit enter, and it should here print out the version and where it's installed. Also pip 3 and then -- version, and then hit enter, and as you can see here, pip 20.2, and it's installed. So this is how you can install Python 3 on your Mac.
So now what we need to do is that we need to create our project folder. And it's very important to create your project folder in a location where it's easy for you to access. And the easiest location, I think, is your desktop. So now what I'm going to do here is that I am going to say cd and then desktop. This is going to change directory to my desktop. And then I'm going to hit enter. And this is, as you can see, it's going to change directory to my desktop, and I will be able to create the project in my desktop. Now, in order to create our project, we need to type the following: Django, and then -admin, and then space, and then start project, and then the name of the project. You can, of course, name it whatever you want. I'm going to name my project my underscore project, and then let me hit enter. And if I hit enter, a project or a folder, a Django folder or Django project has been created. Let me show you that. So if I head on over to my desktop, as you can see, I have here a folder called my project. Now, in order to open this in Visual Studio Code, all you need to do is that you need to drag this folder and drop it on Visual Studio Code, and it will be opened. So as you can see here, this is my project folder, and it says here my project, and it has here another file called manage.py. So let me walk you through these files and the importance of these files and what these files do. So first of all, we have this manage. This manage file basically is very important because this manage folder is going to manage everything. Whenever you want to run your project in the browser, you will need to use this file. Whenever you want to create a database, you will need to use this file. So this is a very important file. Here in my project here, we have very important files. So here, if you open up this URL is going to contain all of the URLs that you have. So of course your project is going to have URLs because you want to let users to go to specific URLs. So this URLs is going to specify which URLs you are going to be using and you are going to have in your project. We have the settings, which is responsible for settings such as the installed apps, the middlewares, the templates, all of these things. So here settings is for the settings, and we also have here the init.py. This is just very important for the application to work successfully, as well as the wsgi.py. These files are responsible for just making our application, our Django application, work successfully, and you are not going to work with them directly.
So now it's time to learn how to create our first URL. As you can see here in the browser, we have this URL 127.0.0.1 and then the port, and this is the main URL. But we need to create URLs. We need to learn how to create URLs that display specific piece of code or display a specific data, a piece of data. So how can we do that? The first thing that we need to do is that we need to learn how to create a URL. So first of all, you need to open up your blog here, this blog. And then in this blog, you should find a file called URLs. And if you don't find it, in some applications it's not installed, it's not created by default by Django. So you need to create that file inside the blog. So here inside the blog, I'm gonna right click on it, and then I'm gonna say new file, and then I'm gonna say urls.py, and then hit enter. And as you can see, I have here a file called urls.py. The reason why I created this file is because it has not been installed, it has not been created by Django, it has not been provided by Django. But if it has, then of course you don't need to create it. So now in this file, what we need to do is that we need to create our first URL. So first of all, let me zoom in here so that you can here see what's going on. So what I'm going to type here is that I'm going to type the following. First of all, I'm going to type from Django.urls, import path. We need to import the path class from this the path function from this Django.urls. And then what we need to do is that we need to import the views as well. We need to import the views. So we need to say from dot and then import views. So what does this mean? From dot means from this directory, from the current directory, which is this directory, the same directory. Import, and then views, the file that's called views. What is this file? This file is this file, this views. So I'm telling Django, hey Django, I want you to import the views, this views file here in this URLs because I want to use it. So these couple of lines are just important because we want to use the path and we want to use the views. Now it's time to create the URL. So to create the URL, we need first to create a variable called URL patterns. And this URL patterns is going to be a list. So it's going to be here a list. And then we need to create the URL, the first URL. So to create a URL, we need to say path. And then this path function is going to take 3 parameters. The first parameter is the URL itself. To go to in order to see a specific page, in order to check out a specific page. So I'm going to just keep it empty. Empty meaning that it's going to be the main, there is nothing. Meaning that if the user goes to this main, it's going to display a specific code or a specific page. And then the second parameter is the view or the file that you want to, the function that you want to execute. So here I'm going to say views.index. I'm going to create a function called index. Don't worry about this for now. Just don't worry about this for now. And then comma, and then the third parameter is going to be name, and then the name of this URL. So the name can be anything. You can name it whatever you want. I'm going to name it index. I'm going to name this index. I'm just going to give this a name. The second step that we need to do is that we need to specify. We need to tell our project that we have this URL, because this urls.py is inside this blog app. And an app, as I told you earlier, an app is just a part of the project. So the project itself here, my project, you need to open my project, and then you need to open urls.py. And then inside that urls.py, we need to tell Django, hey Django, we have an app called blog, and it has URLs. So here in this file, in this URLs that's inside the my project, I need to say here path. I need to say path, and then the name of the app. So the name of the app is blog forward slash, and then comma, and then include, and then we need to include the blog.urls. We need to include the URLs file, the URLs of the blog. And finally, we need to import the blog here. We need to say here, comma, and then include to include the function, to include the include function. And now we are good to go.
So now it's time to learn how to return an HTML code. We already know how to return text here in the front end, but this is not useful. This is usually not useful. If you want to create a web application or website, of course you need to return HTML. So how can you return HTML in Django? Well, the first step is that you need to create a folder that's going to hold all of your HTML files. So where should you create that file? Well, in order to create that file, you need to create it in the specific app that you want to work on. So now we are working on the blog. So here in the blog, we need to create a new file here, new folder, and then you need to name it templates. And then inside that templates, you need to create a new folder. You need here to say new folder, and then you need to give it the same name as the app. So the name of the app was blog. So here you need to say blog. So what you are going to have now is that you are going to have templates and then / blog. So inside that blog now we can create our first HTML file. So here I'm going to right click and then I'm going to create my first HTML file. I'm going to say new file and then I'm going to name it index.html. And then now in the index.html, I'm going to add my code. I'm going to add here this code. I'm going to say h1, and then I'm going to say this is Django app. Let me now save, and now it's time to learn how to return this to the user. So to return this, what we need to do is that we need to, instead here in the views.py, instead of returning HTTP response, we can return HTML. So for example, here in this article, instead of returning HTTP response, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove this completely, and then I'm going to say return, and then I'm going to say here return, and then I'm going to use a function called render. And then this function render takes 3 parameters. The first parameter is the request. The second parameter is the file that you want to return. So we want to return, remember, we want to return the index.html that's inside the blog, that's inside the templates. So what we need to do here is that we need to say blog and then /index.html. So we only pass here the name of this folder, but we don't say templates /blog. We just say blog, and then the name of the file, and then finally here you can return whatever parameter you want. Maybe you want to return here the article ID. You can here say object and then article ID. If you want to return this article ID, you can here give it a value, a key, article ID. The article ID is the key, and then the value is the article ID. Finally, we need to import this render. So at the top here, make sure that you have this render. Make sure that you have imported this render. Finally, in the settings, in the app settings here, in the My Project settings, what we need to do is that we need to add this piece of code. This piece of code is very important. Here in the installed apps, we need to add this piece of code. We need to say blog.apps.blog config. and then comma. Don't forget to add this comma. So you need to add this piece of code. This is very important. This piece of code is gonna let Django know that we have this app in our project. Now, if I save everything and if I head on over to the browser, guess what? If I refresh, it's gonna return this is Django app. Let me now refresh one more time. And as you can see, it's gonna say this is Django app. So it returned this file. It returned the index.html. So this is how we can return an HTML file to users. So now it's time to learn how to add CSS to our project so that we make this page look better. So what I'm going to do is that here, I'm going to teach you how you can add CSS. First of all, we need to create a folder that's going to hold our styles. So to create a folder here in the app, in the blog, we need to create a folder here called new folder called static. Static. It must be named static. And then inside that folder, we need to create another folder, and it must be blog. It must be named the same as the name of the app. So the name of the app is blog. Therefore, I'm going to name it here blog. So now we have a folder called static, and inside that folder, we have a new folder called blog. Now in that blog, we need to create a new file. And that file is going to be the style.css. And here is going to go our style code, our CSS code. But the most important question is, how can we import this in the index? How can we tell Django, hey Django, we have this style.css and we want to use it here? How can we do that? To do that, we need here to come over here in the head, and then we need to add this piece of code. We need to add curly braces and then percentages and then load static. And what this code is going to do is that this code is going to load the static folder. And then below this code, we need to say link and then rel style sheet and then the type and then href, and then the href is going to be here curly braces, and then inside those curly braces we need to say percentages, and then we need to say static again, and then static, and then inside single quotes we need to say here, we need to say blog, and then / and then style.css. So what I have done here is that I have loaded here let me here close this, the style.css which is inside the blog, which is inside the static, this one, the style that's inside the blog, that's inside the static. Now let me save and let me now add here some style to this h1. So for this h1, what I'm going to do is that here I'm going to say h1, and then I'm going to say background color, let's say brown, and then the color itself is going to be white. Now let me save and head on over to the browser and refresh. If I refresh, nothing is going to happen. Why? Because we need to restart the server. This is very, very important, and many Django developers fall into this trap. You must, whenever you create something like this, something new, such as creating a folders and files, you need to restart your server. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to restart my server. I'm going to here open up my terminal one more time, and then I'm going to start my server. I'm going to restart my server. And here, if I run this, it's going to say, it's going to give me this this URL. So let me now head on over to the browser and go to 8000 and refresh. And as you can see now, the styles now took effect. As you can see, this is Django app, and the background color is brown and the color is white. So as you can see, this is how you can add CSS to your project. So now what we need to do is that we need to work on the user interface here. Instead of displaying this as a Django app, we want to work on the user interface so that the design looks amazing. So I'm going to start by working on the navigation bar. So instead of displaying H1, let me first run my server. I'm going to run my server here, and then I'm going to head on over to the browser. If you go to the main page, you will find that we have this is my first app. And of course, we don't want that. First of all, we want to take the user to the index.html. So I'm going to open up the urls.py and or actually the views. In the views.py, in the index, instead of returning the user to the instead of returning this message, I'm going to take the user to the index page. So to take the user to the index page, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to here remove this, and then I'm going to say render, and then what I'm going to render is that I'm going to return the request first, and along with the request, we need to specify the page that we want to go to. So we want to go to the blog/index.html. And here we have this article function. I no longer need this. This was just for the sake of demonstrating how to pass a parameter. Also in the URLs here, I no longer need this article. I'm going to remove this. This was just for the sake of demonstrating how this works. So now that we have this function index, we need to save everything. Let me save everything. And let me head on over to the browser and refresh. And as you can see here, it's going to display this is a Django app. So this was the first step. The first step was to take the user from the main page, which is the index, to this page, to the index.html. The next step is that we need to work on the user interface. So I'm going to start by working on the navigation bar. I'm going to be displaying a navigation bar instead of displaying this. So I'm going to remove this completely, and then I'm going to create a navigation bar. I'm going to say here dev. And inside that div, what I'm going to do is that I am going to, let me push this a little. Let me push this. And then inside that div, I'm going to be displaying a UL unordered list. And inside that unordered list, I'm going to be displaying the buttons or the tabs. So the first one is going to be li, and inside that li, I want to display the a tag here, a tag of that AI, and inside that a tag, I'm going to say home. This is going to be the home page, home, and then inside that home, I'm going to say href. The href for now is just going to be empty, or it's just going to be / You can't say / because this is the home page. For the second tab, I'm going to display here li, another li. And that li is going to have inside it a tag. And inside that a tag, I need to display the name of that page. So let's say contact, for example. Contact. And then you can display another page. You can here say li, and then inside that li, another a tag, which is going to be, let's say, about us. I'm going to say about us, or about, just about. Let me now save and let me head on over to the browser to test. So I'm going to push this a little, and then I'm going to save, and then I'm going to head on over to the browser to test. Now in the browser, if I refresh, you'll find that we have home, we have contact, and we have about. But the problem with this is that it requires some design. We need to add some design to this in order to make this look amazing, because now it's just HTML code without CSS. So we need to work on the CSS part of this so that this looks much better than this. So I'm going to head on over to the CSS file, and then I'm going to start working on this. So in the CSS here, if you open up the static blog CSS, style.css, you'll find that we have this h1. We no longer need this. This was just for the sake of demonstrating how to use CSS in Django. Now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to here add some designs to the UL. So for this UL, for this unordered list, I'm going to add the following design. First of all, I'm going to change the list style type. So the list style type is going to be none, because I want to display the button. I want to display the buttons here side by side. The next thing that I want is that I want to change the margin and the padding. So the margin and the padding are going to be 0. So the margin is going to be 0. The padding is going to be 0 as well. For the overflow, the overflow is going to be hidden. For the background color, I'm going to change the background color. The background color, here I'm going to say first background. So the background color is going to be a dark color. It's going to be 333. For the position, the position is going to be fixed, because I want to display it in the upper side of the website. So it's going to be fixed. And it's going to be fixed to the top of the website. And to the left, to the top and the left. So it's going to be at the top. And finally, I'm going to change the width. So the width of this is going to be here width. The width is going to be 100%, because I wanted to take the complete screen width. Let me save and let me head on over to the browser to test. So in the browser, if I refresh, as you can see, it's going to be displayed like this. But still, we need to work on the buttons, on these buttons, and display them side by side. So here, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to change the LI. So the LI here, for each LI, for each button, I'm going to make the float. I'm going to change the float to be left, which is going to make them displayed side by side. And the border left, border right is going to be 1px solid and BBB, which is a light color. And we also need to change the LI of the last button. So for the last child, for the last button, it's not gonna have a border right. I'm gonna say border right. So the border right of the last button is gonna be none. We don't want a border right for the last button. Finally, I'm gonna work on the LIA, the A tag of each LI, which is this, each A tag. So for each A tag, I'm gonna change the display. The display is gonna be display. The display is gonna be block. It's gonna be a block. And for each one, it's gonna have a different color. The color is gonna be white, because the background color is already black or dark. The text decoration is gonna be none, and the text decoration. The text decoration is going to remove the line below each of these buttons, And we also need some padding. I'm going to say here padding. So the padding for each of the buttons is going to be 14px and 16px. Top and left and right and the bottom. And the text is going to be centered. So the text align is going to be center. Let me now save and let me head on over to the browser to test. So now in the browser, if I refresh, guess what? Now we have here a navigation bar that looks amazing. We have home, contact, and about, and it looks amazing, and it's fixed here at the top of the website. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to work on the user interface. As you can see here, the page is empty, and we need to start working on the user interface and create a block or a card to display the information that we want to display. So what I'm going to do is that in the index.html, I'm going to start by creating a div. Here I'm going to say div. And then I'm going to give this div a class called container. Class container. And then I'm gonna work on the CSS later. For now, I'm gonna give the HTML code classes and IDs, but later I'm gonna create that design and work on the CSS code. The second thing that I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna create here another div. I'm gonna say div, and this div is gonna have also another class and that class is going to be called app. I'm going to name it app. You can name it whatever you want. There is no problem here. So this is going to be named app. And inside that, I'm going to be creating two spans. I'm going to say here span, and I'm going to give this span a class, and that class is going to be team and team left, two classes. And I'm gonna, inside that class, I'm gonna add more code, but for now I'm just gonna start by creating another span. I'm gonna say here span, another span, and that span is going to have a class also. The same class is going to be team, but the other class is going to be team right. And in between these two spans, I'm going to create another span to display the score. So this is going to be for the score. I'm going to say class score. And I'm gonna surround everything with a div. I'm gonna say here div, and then this div is gonna have a class called header, and I'm gonna copy these three spans, and then I'm gonna remove them, and then I'm gonna paste them inside that header. Here, I'm gonna paste them here. Now, inside the left and inside the right, we need to display two spans. So here we need a span also. Here I'm going to say span, and then for this span I'm going to give it a class called name, and for the second span here for this team right, I'm going to also do the same. I'm going to say span, and for this span I'm going to say class, and then I'm going to say name as well. So let me save and let me refresh. If I save and refresh, you'll find nothing here because I did not type anything. This is just the skeleton, and of course we need to kind of add the design to it. So I'm going to work on the design later, and everything is going to look amazing.
So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to work on the CSS. So I'm going to open up the style.css, and then in the style.css I'm going to add the following design. First of all, I'm going to create the container class. I'm going to say container, and for the container I'm going to say here width, and the width is going to be 360 px, and the margin is going to be 15 and auto, 15 px auto. This is going to center the div. This is going to center this div. This div is going to be centered because here I said auto. And then I'm going to work on the app class, this app class. So here I'm going to say app, and for the app I'm going to say width, and the width again is going to be 360. The width of the app is going to be 360 px, 360. The height is going to be 40 px. The background is important. The background color. So the background color is going to be F8 F8. And the border left, I'm going to add border left and border right. So I'm going to say border left. So the border left is going to be 11 px, solid. And then let's add some color here. I'm going to say 0349693. And I'm going to say border right. So the border right is going to be also the same. It's going to be 11 px, solid. And then I'm going to use this color, E89E01. And then I'm going to add a box shadow. So I'm going to say box shadow. So the box shadow is going to have the following numbers. First 0 and then 60 px, and then 45 px, and then minus 50 px. And then the color is going to be RGBA 000 and 20.25. And then comma, and then 0 here, 0 minus 50px, and 45px, and 50px. And the color, again the color, minus 50px. And then the color is going to be the same RGBA, 0, 0, 0, and 25. And this is for the app. Now let's work on the header. Remember, we have here the header, we have this header, So for this header, I'm going to say dev dot header. So for the header, I'm going to say position, and the position is going to be relative, and the width is going to be 100%, and the height is going to be 140px. Next, I'm going to work on the theme. We have here the theme. We have this theme. So for this theme, I'm going to say span.theme. So for the span.theme, I'm going to say position. I'm going to first change the position. So the position is going to be relative, and the width is going to be only 45%. And the display is going to be inline block. This is for the display. And I'm going to also change the height, the text align to be centered. Text align center. This is for the theme. Now we have the theme left and the theme right. So we have here theme left and theme right. So for these, I'm going to say span.theme left. So for the theme left, I'm just going to say float left, because we want this span to be displayed on the left side, and we want this span to be displayed on the right side. So we need to say similarly for the span right. I'm going to say span.theme right, and then I'm going to change the float. The float is going to be right. And then we need to work on the last two classes, and they are the name and the theme and the score. So also the theme here, I'm going to add a few things. For the theme, I'm going to say span.theme, and also span.name. I'm going to add the following design, because they are going to have the same. A few things will be the same for these two. So the width is going to be 70%. The width is going to be 70%, and the display is going to be block. Display is going to be block. And then the text transform. The text transform is going to be upper. I'm going to make it uppercase, because I want the letter to be all of the letters to be to have uppercase. And then font, I'm going to change the font size. The font size is going to be 18px. And this is for the text. For the font weight, I'm going to change the font weight to be 500. Font weight. The font weight is going to be 500. And the letter spacing, we want to add some spacing between the letters. It's going to be 1px. And the color of the text is going to be RGBA 000.8. And finally, I'm going to change the padding. I'm going to say padding. The padding is going to be 5%, 15%, 0%, and 15%. Finally, we need to work on the score. The score is the last thing that we need to work on. So the score, I'm going to say here span.score. So for the score, I'm going to say position. The position is going to be absolute. And the width is going to be 100%, and the height is going to also be 100%. So I'm going to say the width is going to be 100%, and the height is also going to be 100%. And we need also to change the display to be a block. I'm going to say display inline block. And the left is going to be aligned to the left, to the far left, and the text is going to be the text align is going to be centered. Text align center. Finally, I'm going to work on the font and the letter. So for the font, I'm going to say font size. I'm going to change the font size. So the font size, I'm going to say 15px, and the font weight. The font weight is going to be 600. The letter spacing is going to be 2px. And finally, the color and the text, the line height. So the color is going to be 000.8, and the line height is going to be 40px. Let me now save, and let me add here some text. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to say team 1, and here I'm going to say team 2, and then in between here I'm going to say the result. I'm going to say, for example, 0, 0. And let me save, and let me now restart the server. This is very important. You need to open the terminal, and then if your server is up and running, you need to kill that server and because sometimes it might not work. CSS sometimes requires you to restart the server and reopen the browser. So here I'm going to run my server and then I'm going to reopen my browser. Let me wait until this is finished. So now if I head on over to the browser, you'll find that here it's being displayed, but it's behind the navigation bar. The problem is that I need to change here something in the CSS. Here I need to say margin. I'm going to say margin top. So the margin top is going to be 50px, or let's say 60px. So if I say margin top 60px, and let me run my server one more time. And if I refresh, as you can see, it's going to be displayed like this, and it looks amazing. This is the block or the card that I'm going to be using to display the team 1 and team 2, and then the result in between, which looks amazing. And by the way, if the CSS doesn't work for you, you need to close down your browser and reopen the server in a new, in a fresh browser, in a fresh tab.
So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you the service that I'm going to be using in order to make requests. So this service is called apifootball.com. Again, this is apifootball.com. And you need to scroll, and if you scroll, you'll find here the plans that they provide. And each single plan, of course, has a features, so you can choose the one that suits you, but I'd recommend at the beginning, I'd recommend using the free plan, and then after you make requests and after I teach you how to use it, you can move on and use the European or the worldwide, depending upon what you want, which leagues and which kind of sports you want to access its data. So in order to create an account, you can here select any one of these. For example, I'm going to click on the free one because I want to show you how you can create a free account initially, and then you can upgrade later to the European or the worldwide. So let me click here on sign up. And then all you need to do is that you need to type your email and your password and then click on create an account. And by the way, you need to type a real email because they are going to send you an email to confirm your email address. So I have already created an account, therefore I'm going to log in. I'm going to click on login. And by the way, once you create an account, you need to head on over to your email in order to click on a link that they will send you in order to verify your account. So I'm gonna now click on login and I'm gonna log in. So now after I have logged in, I want to show you the most important thing. The most important thing is your API key. Where can you find your API key? You will find your API key here in your account. If you click on account, you will find your API key. And by the way, if you cannot find this initially, you need to go back to the main page and then you need to click on the plan here. You need to click again on the plan and then you need to activate. They are going to send you another link in order to activate your API key. So make sure that you activate your API key by clicking on the email that they are going to send you. So this is your API key. So what is your API key? Your API key is simply a kind of a long number that is unique and that you can use in order to make requests, in order to access the service. If you don't use this, you will not be able to get data from the service. So this is the second step, which is getting to know your API key. The last and probably most important step is the documentation. So if you click on documentation, you will find how to use this API service. Of course, here it's complicated, and I'm not gonna explain everything because it's very complicated. Instead, I'm gonna simplify everything. Instead of explaining these so difficult things, I'm gonna explain everything in a very simple way. So all you need to know is two things. First, the event or the thing that you want to access. So what we want to access is the results. Therefore, we need to click here on results. And then the second thing is the URL that we want to use. So the URL is this. This is the URL. So the structure of the URL is the API is this link. And then at the end, you need to paste here. It's going to say API key is equal to XXX. You need to replace these X's with your API key that I have already shown you. And after you do that, you will get all of the matches, all of the results of the matches that you have, that you are entitled to access and see. And there are here parameters. The only parameters that I'm going to be using is from, which is the date from to. From is the start date and to is the end date. And finally, you need to know a very important thing, which is if you go back, let me go back. If you go back, you will find that, let me go back to the main page. If you go to the main page, you'll find that the free plan has access to the England Championship and the France League 2. So unfortunately, you will not be able to access all leagues unless you get the European or the worldwide. But don't worry about that, because here at this point we just need to practice and learn how to access data. And if you know that, if you learn how to access data, you can apply this to any league. It doesn't matter. The point is not isn't learning how to get a specific league's results, because this is what I'm gonna teach you is gonna be applied to all leagues. It doesn't matter which league you want to access its data. You can, what I'm gonna show you and what I'm gonna teach you is applied and can be applied to any league. So I'm gonna be applying, I'm gonna be getting the results of the England Championship. So now what we need to do is that we need to learn how to make a request. So to make a request, you need to click on documentation, and then let me show you the results. If you click on results, you will find that we have this link. So you need to copy this link. Let me show you how you can do that. You need to copy this link, and then you need to head on over to the browser and open a new tab and then paste that link. And then at the end, you need to replace, let me remove everything. You need to replace these X's with your API key. So I'm gonna go back, and then I'm gonna go to my account. I'm gonna click on account, and then I'm gonna copy my API key. You need to copy your API key, and then you need to paste your API key at the end instead of these X's. Remove these X's and then paste your API key, and then hit enter. And here it's gonna say message error, no event found. The reason is because we need to specify the event. The event, again, remember, the event that we are entitled to, the event that we can access its data is the England Championship. This is the only one because I'm using the free plan. So we need to do that here. So to do that, we need to know the league ID. So to get the league ID, we need to go back to the documentation, and then in the documentation, we need to find which league. Here we need first to look for countries. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna copy this URL, and then I'm gonna paste it here, and then I'm gonna change the API key. I'm gonna copy again my API key, and then I'm gonna paste it at the end. I'm gonna paste it here at the end. So let me here hit enter. So if you hit enter, you'll find that the two countries that we can access their data are England here, England and France. So England has an ID of 44. So we need to go back to the documentation and look for leagues that exist in England. So we need to search for leagues here. We need to click on competitions, and then here I'm going to copy this URL, and then I'm going to paste it here, and then I'm going to paste my API key one more time at the end. I'm going to paste my API key at the end instead of these X's, and then I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to change the country. So the country here is going to be 44 here, 44, because England has an ID of 44. If you hit enter, you will get information about England. So the only league that we can use is league number 149, which is the non-league premier. So this is the only league we can access. So we need to use this league ID. So we need to access the league ID in the main URL. So remember the main URL, let me go back to the documentation, and then let me click on events. So the events, we need to specify the league ID. This is the league ID. So I'm going to copy this URL, and then I'm going to paste it here. And then I'm going to change my API key. I'm going to get my API key. Here, I'm going to add it at the end. And then we need to specify the league. So here I'm going to say first league underscore ID, and then equals to 149, and then then I'm going to hit enter. And here I have a spelling error, by the way. Here I have, it should be league ID. So I'm going to say league ID, and here the league ID is, let me check one more time, league ID. So the league ID should be 149, I think. 149, yes. So we need to use 149. So here I'm going to say league ID is equal to 149, and from this to this, and here league ID, I need to remove this part, and I also need to change the period. So you need to select a period. For example, I'm going to say 5, and here I'm going to say 5 May, and then I'm going to hit enter. And if you hit enter, you are going to get the data. So as you can see, the data is an array with all of the matches that have been played during this period, from the 12th to the 17th. So this is how you can get your data. But don't worry about the process, the complete process. You aren't gonna need to repeat the same process every time. All you need to do now is that you need to copy this URL and store it in a safe place. So this URL now that we have, you need to copy it, and then I recommend storing it in a safe place. You can store it here in HTML or even in Python, but I recommend placing it in a safe place. You can add it here for now, just to make sure that you have copied that URL and it exists here, and make sure that you comment this out so that it doesn't create an error with your Python code. So now what we need to do is that we need to make a request. Therefore, in the views, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to import a new module here. I'm going to say import, and then I'm going to import a module called requests with an S. This requests module is a module that belongs to Python. You need to know that there is a difference between request singular and requests plural. The plural one belongs to Python, and it allows you to make requests and get data from any API service, whereas this request belongs to Django, which can be used inside Django framework to redirect you or take you from one page to another. So make sure that you differentiate between this and this, between the requests plural and the request singular. Now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be using this requests plural in order to make a request. So here in the index, I'm going to say requests, and then I'm going to say .get. This is going to allow me to make a GET request, and then I'm going to pass here the URL, and then I'm going to store the result in a variable called response. So response is going to be equal to requests.get. So requests.get is going to make a request to the service, and then it's going to return a response, and the response is going to be stored in the response. So now what we need to do is that we need to create the URL variable. So I'm going to say here URL, and it's going to be equal to the link that I have told you earlier to save in a safe place, to store in a safe place, which is this URL. So I'm going to copy this URL. I'm going to copy this URL, and then I'm going to paste this URL here in this URL. I'm going to store it here in this URL variable inside double quotes. I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to paste it here. So make sure that the structure is correct here. Make sure again the structure is correct. And your API key exists at the end of that URL. Finally, I'm going to pass this URL to the get function. I'm going to pass it here. I'm going to say URL. So let me explain this one more time. Here we have a URL variable, which is the URL that we need to use in order to make a request and get data from the service. Here, this line is to make a request, a GET request to the URL, to this URL, and this line is going to return a response. This line is going to return data, and the data that will be returned is going to be stored in the response. Pretty simple. So now what we need to do is that we need to convert the data that we will get from text to JSON, because the data that we will get here is going to be a text and it's going to be stored here in the response. So we need to convert it into JSON so that we will be able to use it. And to do that, all we need to do is that we need to call a function called JSON. So I'm going to say response.json. If you call the JSON response, if you call the JSON function on the response, you will convert this response into JSON. And then I'm going to store the result in a variable called JSON response. JSON response. So JSON response is going to be equal to response.json. This is very, very important. If you don't do this step, you will not be able to access the data. So now we need to know the structure of this JSON response. So if you copy the URL, if you copy this URL and paste it in your browser, you are going to get this data. This data, as you can see, is a JSON, and it's a JSON array, and inside that JSON array we have JSON objects. As you can see, this is the first match, and then we have another match here, match ID, and then we have, let me zoom out. So we have objects. Here, this is the first object, and then we have another object, match ID. This is the second object. So we have objects. This is an array of objects. So what we need to do is that we need to loop over this JSON response, because this is an array of objects. We need to loop over this array and get each single object and display each single object, because each single object, as you can see here, again, each single object represents a match. This object represents a match where it contains the match ID, the country ID, the country name, the match home team ID, the match home team name, and the match away team name, and the score as well. So all of these things. So now what we need to do is that we need to pass this JSON response to the index.html so that we can display the results. So to do that, all we need to do is that we need to pass it here. We need to say comma, and then we need to say here curly braces, and then we need to give it a key. The key is going to be JSON response, and the value is just going to be JSON response. Obviously, the value should be JSON response. It should be this. And by the way, this is an array. Again, this is an array. So now this JSON response is available to me in the index.html. In other words, I will be able to access this JSON response in the HTML. So this is the goal, is passing it to HTML so that I will be able to loop over it in the HTML. So this is the ultimate goal that we needed in order to use the JSON in the index. So now in the index we need to access it and loop over the JSON response. How can we do that? To do that, we need to create a loop here. So how can we create a loop in here in HTML? To create a loop here, we need here to say curly braces and then percentages, and then for, and then JSON for let's say result in JSON response, because the JSON response is the array. The result is each single match or each single object we have in this JSON response. And at the end, we need to say here curly braces and then percentages, and then we need to say here end for. This is very important. We need to end the for loop, and in between we need to display the results. So in order to display the results, we need to again check the keys that we have. So I'm gonna copy this URL, and then I'm gonna head on over to the browser one more time. I'm gonna head on over to the browser, and then I'm gonna paste it. So if I paste the URL and refresh, as you can see, this is the response, and I need to check the response again. So the response has the match ID, and it has the country ID, and it has many things. So the things that we are interested in are the name of the team or teams that are playing. For example, here we have match home team name, and we have match home score, and we have match away team name, and we have match away team ID, match away team score. So these are the four things that we are interested in: the match away team score, and the match home team score, and the match home team name, and the match away team name. So we need to access these four. So here in the index, I'm going to access these four. So here, instead of team 1, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say double curly braces. Here I'm going to say double curly braces, and then I'm going to say result, and then dot, and then the first is the match home team name with underscore. So I'm going to say match underscore home team underscore name. For the away, we need to, the other team is this one is match away team name, I think. Match this one, match away team name. So I'm going to say here, instead of team 2, I'm going to say double curly braces, and then I'm going to say result dot match underscore away team underscore name. For the result, we need to display the result here. So the result is the match home team score and the match away team score. So we need to display the scores. So now it's time to display the result. As you can see here, we need to display the score. So we need to find out what is the key for the score. So for the score, we need to get the match home team full-time score, and we need also to get the match this one match away team full-time score. So these two are the keys that we are interested in. So I'm gonna here display let me copy them. I'm gonna copy the first one, which is this key, and then I'm gonna paste it here. I'm gonna say here double curly braces, and then I'm gonna say result dot, and then match home team full-time score, and this is the score that belongs to the home team. And then I'm gonna add here hyphen, and then I'm gonna say double curly braces, and then in between I'm gonna say match away team full-time score. So I'm gonna say here result dot, and then match away team full-time score. Let me now save and let me head on over to the browser to test. So in the browser, if I refresh, let me refresh. So if I refresh, I think I'm not gonna get anything. The reason is because these matches have been cancelled. So during this period, all of these matches have been cancelled. Therefore, all of the scores will be here empty. So I'm gonna change the date. I'm gonna go back in time here instead of using this date. I'm gonna go back in time here to something else. Let me say anything, any date, any old date. I'm gonna go back in time in order to test this and see how it's gonna return the date, how it's gonna return the. So let me here say this date, for example. So let me change again. Let me say something else. I'm gonna try to get a date where matches have been played. So here, as you can see, no event found. So we need to keep changing the date until we find matches. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with this league, so I don't really know when these matches have been played. So let me try this date, for example. So I have found this date. This date, there has been many matches have been played during this period. So this is the date. Let me copy this link. Let me go this link. So I'm gonna in the views here, I'm gonna use this period. I'm gonna use this period of time. So I'm gonna remove this link, and then I'm gonna paste this new link which contains this period. And this period, many matches have been played. Let me save and let me go back to the browser and refresh and show you how awesome this is. So let me here refresh. Let me refresh one more time. So as you can see here, I got all of these matches and the results are being displayed here, which looks amazing. The only problem is that the text is too big. As you can see, the text is too big and it collides with the results. So let me change the text. So you can here change the name here, the name class. I'm gonna go back to the CSS and I'm gonna change the name. Remember, we have the name class. I'm gonna change it. So the text size here, I'm gonna change the text size to be 14. I'm gonna say 14 here. Let me save and let me go back to the browser and refresh. So if you refresh, it should work. So as you can see now, it looks amazing, and I have all of the results that are related to that league. And now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to display further information. For example, here, this service returns the team home badge, the badge or logo of each single team or club we have. So we can display the logo above the team name. So what is the key for the logo? For the home team, the logo is team home badge. And for the away here, it says team away badge, and it's a URL that's going to display the logo. So we are interested in these two keys, the team home badge and the team away badge. So in my application here, in my project, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the image here. I'm going to say image, and then I'm going to say source, and then the source is going to be equal. The source is going to be equal to double curly braces, and then result dot, and then here we need to use the team home badge for the home team. So I'm going to say team underscore home underscore badge. For the away we need to say team away badge. So I'm going to repeat the process here. I'm going to say here image, and then I'm going to say source, and then it's going to be equal to double curly braces, and then result dot team underscore away underscore badge. Badge. But the problem, let me save and let me refresh and show you how awesome this is going to look like. If I refresh now, guess what? It's going to look outstanding. As you can see, it looks outstanding. But the problem is that the image is too big. The logos are too big, and we need to resize these logos. So it's very simple to resize these logos so that they fit into the card or the component we have. So to resize them, we need to say here style, and then the style is going to be width, and then the width is going to be fixed to I'm going to say it's very important to keep the width fixed to something. I'm going to say to 20px. Similarly for the away, I'm going to say style, and then it's going to be width, and the width is going to be 20px. 20px. And I'm going to also change the height of the header of the height of the app which is the component. I'm going to say style, and then it's going to be equal to height, and the height is going to be, let's say, 120px. And I'm going to also add here style padding top 20px. Let's say 10px. Let me now save and let me head on over to the browser to test. Now if I refresh, as you can see, it looks amazing. It looks all of these images and the themes fit into the component, but we need to kind of reduce or decrease the height of the component. So instead of 100, instead of 120, I'm gonna say 100. Let's say 100. Let me refresh, and as you can see, it looks even better. So what else can we display? Well, you can display anything you want from here, but I recommend keeping everything simple because you don't want the user to have so many information to look at. The main goal of the application is to display the results. This is the main goal. But if you want to add more information, such as here, for each single match, you will get for example, the country name, the league name. In case you are displaying more than one league, then of course you need to display the league name. And of course, if you are getting leagues from different countries, you need to display the country name. But in my case, I'm only getting one single league from England, so there's no need to do that. But I'm going to be showing you how to do that anyways. You can also display any of these keys depending upon what you want to display. For example, you can display match time. You can display the match status, completed or cancelled. Many things can be displayed. But again, my recommendation is to keep things simple. So I'm going to be showing you how to display a couple of these keys, and then you can repeat the same process over and over again and display whatever key you have here. The process is the same. The only difference is the key. The key, all you need to do is to change the key. So let me show you how you can do that. First, let me show you here. I'm going to be displaying the league name and the country. So here, what I'm going to do below the span, below the team right span, I'm going to display here dev. I'm going to say here dev, and then I'm going to say here double curly braces, and then I'm going to say result dot, and then I'm going to be displaying remember, I'm going to be displaying the league name, this league name. So I'm going to say league underscore name. But if you save and refresh, it's going to be displayed, but we will have a problem. Let me save and refresh. As you can see, it's going to be displayed here. But the problem is that the design, we need to work on the design so that it looks better than this. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say here style, and then I'm going to first say clear both, because we have used float. So we need to clear both sides. The second thing that we need to do is that we need to give this div a width of 100%. And then we need also to say text align center. I need to center the text, and I'm going to also change the font. I'm going to say font size, and then I'm going to say, let's say 10 px, and let me also say margin top and then I'm going to say margin top of 50px. Of course, you can create a class and use a class instead of using inline CSS, but here, just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to be using style here. Let me save and let me now refresh and show you the difference. So as you can see now, it looks amazing. Here it's displaying the league name. Here the league name is being displayed. You can increase, of course, the margin top. I think the margin top should be increased a little. I'm going to say 80px. So the margin top now is much bigger. It's much bigger, but if you increase the margin top, you need also to increase the height. So you can increase the height to 120 so that the text doesn't get outside the component. So as you can see now, it looks better. The second thing that I'm going to be displaying is the country name. Again, the country name should be displayed only if you are getting so many leaks from different countries. Otherwise, there is no need to display the name. If you are targeting, if your customers are from one country, then there is no need to display the name. So for the name, I'm going to say here dev, and then I'm going to say double curly braces, and then result dot country underscore name, and then I'm going to here say style. Again, I'm going to say style. So the style is going to be first I'm going to say width 100%, and I'm going to say text align center, and I'm going to say also font size. So the font size is going to be 10px, and that's it, I think. Here you can display, by the way, you can here display league, and then colon, and here also you can display country so that the user knows what this is. Let me save and let me refresh now. As you can see, this is gonna display here league, and then the name of the league, and then the country, and then the second match, the third match, the fourth, the sixth, the seventh, etc. So no matter how many matches you have, it's gonna display the league name and also the country. So as you can see now, it looks outstanding, and we have all of the results of all of the matches of that league that have been played during this period. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be displaying today's matches. I'm not going to be displaying old matches. And as you can see, these matches are old. These matches, I think, 2 months have been played 2 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. But I need to. What if you want to get today's matches? Let me show you how you can do that and how you can get today's matches. So the first step is that we need to import here a library called called date time. So I'm going to say from date time import date time, and then in order to get today's date, we need to say here date time dot today dot strf time, and then the format. So I'm going to be using this format. So I'm going to paste this format here, year, and then month, and then day. This is going to display the format exactly as this format, as the format that we need. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to store it in a variable called today. So today is going to be this. This is going to return today's date. Finally, we need to pass that date in this from as well as in this too, because we want to get today's matches, only today's matches. So I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna remove this date. I'm gonna remove this date that's after the from, and then I'm gonna add double quotes, and then I'm gonna say plus plus, and then I'm gonna say today. Similarly for 2, I'm gonna say 2 equals 2, and then I'm gonna remove the date. I'm gonna remove this date, and then I'm gonna add here double quotes, and then plus plus, and then today. What this is gonna do is that it's gonna replace This is going to replace the from and to dates with today's dates. In other words, we will get the matches that have been or are being played today, so which is amazing. Let me now save and let me head on over to the browser to test. And before I test, I need to tell you that it might not work for some plans. So if you are using the free plan, it might not work because I think the free plan will allow you to get matches that have been played a month or two or only I think old matches that have been played 1 month ago from today. Let me refresh and see what is going to happen. So as you can see, I'm not going to get anything, but you get nothing. It means that there is no there are no matches there are no matches today. So you can verify this if you change here this date. You can verify this to make sure that there are no matches or you are using which plan you are using. So if I try to change the date, as you can see, it says here if there are no matches, it's either gonna say actually it's gonna say no event found. Please check your plan. So there are no problems. So now, if you want to get only live matches, you need to add this parameter to your URL. If you add this parameter to your URL, you are gonna get only live matches. But if you keep using the today's matches, as I have shown you, it's also going to return everything that's being played or has been played today. So live match is going to filter your today's matches further. So it's just going to return matches that are being played, that are live. So you can in your URL, if you add here, if you say match underscore live and then is equal to 1 and then and then league ID, etc. This is gonna return only matches that are currently being played. And again, it depends upon your plan. If you are using a plan that doesn't support that, you are not gonna get anything. And also, if there are no matches, you are not going to get anything. Let me here refresh, but let me make sure that the server is up and running. So the server is up and running, so let me wait here. So as you can see, I got nothing, and I think the reason is because either I'm using the free plan or there are no matches being played now. So you can check that again. You can check that by adding here the parameter, which is match underscore live is equal to 1, and then refresh, and you should get something. If you get nothing here, match underscore live. So if you get nothing, it's either because there are no matches or you need to check your plan. And I think if you go back to this website, it's gonna tell you whether you will get the which plans will have access to live matches. So here, if you are using for example, the worldwide, it says that live score. So live score is available to the worldwide, and also it's available in the free plan. If you are using the free plan, you are entitled to the live score. But so the problem with my problem is that there are no events, there are no matches being played today. This is why I'm getting nothing. But if you are searching for another league, you might get matches. So this is the problem that we have here. So you can, by the way, here, let me show you what you can do in case you get nothing. In case you get nothing, you can use this error code to display something to the user. So instead of displaying here empty, like this, empty cards, so you can use this error. Let me show you that. You can use this error code in order to display an error if there are no matches. So here you can say, what you can do is that you can, in the index, you can here say, you can add here if statement, and you can say if here if JSON response, if JSON response dot error, if we have an error, if this error key exists in the response, then we can do something. We can here do something. Else we can do another thing. So we can here say else we can display the result. If there are no errors, we can display the result. Or you can keep it simple and just display here if there's an error, and then say here end if. And then in between you can display a message. You can here say dev, and then you can say here, sorry, there are no matches today. So let me now save and let me go back and refresh. And if I refresh, as you can see here, it says, sorry, there are no matches today. And if you don't want to display these blocks, you can use if statement. You can use else. You can here say else. You can copy this and then move it over to the end. Move it over to the end. And then display here else. You can say here else. And then let me now save and refresh, and it's going to say here, sorry, there are no matches. So it worked successfully. But I would recommend just keeping everything simple. I'm not going to do this, and instead I'm just going to display this block only. I'm just going to display end if. I'm just going to display this block. You can also protect this for loop. If you don't want this message to be displayed twice, you can protect the for loop by this if statement. In other words, you can copy this block, and then you can paste that block outside here, and then you can say else here. You can say else. But again, I wouldn't recommend complicating things. Just keep it simple. There are no reasons for making things complicated. Let me show you. If I use here, I have intentionally added two links. This link is for today because today there are no matches, so it's gonna display this error message. But so as you can see, I'm gonna get all of the matches in case there are matches. In case there are matches that have been played or being played in that event. But in case there are no matches, it's not gonna display the results, and we handled this error. It's just gonna display an error message. And again, you can customize the error message. I have shown you how to do that by using if statement. You can display sorry. You can even protect the for loop. You can only display this. You can display this if statement and display the error message. You can here say like this, and then copy this if, and then protect everything here at the end. And then here you can add here else. You can add else. This is not going to loop over the JSON response in case there is an error. Let me save and let me refresh. So in case there is an error, the error will be displayed, and the matches will never be displayed. So here, since there have been matches played, it's going to display the matches. But if I go back and if I use a link, if I use this link, because this link is for today, and today there are no matches. So if I use this link and if I refresh, I should get an error message because there are no matches. So as you can see, I'm going to get this is empty, and the reason why this is empty is because here I need to say here margin. I need to give it some margin. I'm going to say style, and then I'm going to say margin, let's say 100 px, and let me refresh one more time. And here it's going to say, sorry, there are no matches today. So the error will be displayed in case there is an error. In case there are no errors, in case there are matches, it's going to display the matches. So let me use the URL. Let me use this URL again. And this is going to display everything. And I'm not going to protect the for loop. I personally love the old way, which is displaying the error here, displaying the error inside the for loop. And it's up to you whether you want to display the error inside the loop or outside the loop. It's up to you. As long as you aren't getting any problems, as long as your application doesn't crash, then you can do whatever you want. So let me here say end if, and now if I refresh, I'm gonna get all of the matches, because this link, which returns matches that have been played 1 month ago. If you want to display matches that have been played today, only today, I'd always recommend using this link. I'd recommend using the first link, this link. I'd recommend using this link, the first link, because the first link is going to get today's matches and always going to display matches that have been played or are being played today. So you don't have to worry about the date. You don't have to change the date ever. You can get the matches that have been played today or are being played today, which is awesome. So your application will always display matches that have been played today or are going to be played today.